Do you want me to press record, or do you want to
No.
take care of that?
Rolling.
Okay. All right, sweet. Well, good morning or good afternoon, everybody, wherever you are. A warm welcome to another Best Agents webinar. I'm with Aaron Shiner, and our special guest today is John Stack. G'day again, John.
G'day, Ray, Aaron. Hello,
How you
everyone.
doing, mate?
Hope you're all well.
We are great, mate. Thank you. And a special thank you. You are one of the busiest guys in real estate. You are just really braining it at the moment, and we were just talking before we press record about how massive your market is. But I know even in the hotter a market gets, the more competitive it is, especially for agents, and everybody comes out of the woodwork and suddenly everybody's a real estate agent. Can you just give us a little bit of your backstory? Aaron and I and all of our audience are really keen to know how you got into real estate. I know you started as a PA, but I know you've got some history and some qualification before that. Can you just give us a bit of a lead-in?
Yeah, sure. Be my pleasure. So, look, prior to real estate, I did a Bachelor of Business at university, finished off that, went on my travels over to Europe for some time, had an absolute ball, came back. I always had a goal to work in real estate and sales, but Mum and Dad had said, get a degree, go to uni. I thought, well, we may as well do some travel as well. Came back and literally started the next week at Barry Plant Real Estate in Blackburn. I've been here ever since. That was 2008. So it was during the GFC. So I cut my teeth in a market that got turned upside down pretty much overnight. I worked alongside my managing director, Terry Burgoyne,
Yes.
who basically mentored me, showed me the way, created some vision. I took some skills that he gave me and really elevated that to the next level. After a few years with him, I set up on my own and really haven't looked back since then.
It's an exciting time for you because you're just setting records, and there is really no ceiling on what you're doing. Just tell us. I mean, I know about Blackburn because I'm from Melbourne, but tell us about your average selling price and your demographic a little bit.
Well, it's a mums and dads sort of suburb. We're about 20 k's east of Melbourne CBD. It's a beautiful, leafy, quiet Melbourne suburb. Really good access with freeways, great schools, and really strong demand out here, guys. What I love about the area is that there's, a really good cross section between entry-level apartments at, 280 grand all the way up to, $2-3 million homes. So we've, the average sort of sale price now is sort of 800 to 900, and there's still units that are selling 5, 6, 7, all the way up to the top end at $2 million.
Yeah, it's quite an amazing market. Aaron, can you hit that next slide? I don't know if we included it, but I'm really keen for everybody to see. No, we took it out because it wouldn't play, but I'm going to send everybody a YouTube clip that John uses for promoting himself and his brand and his business. It's very well done. I really love the way, and you mentioned this before we press record as well, so I do want to cover off on this, John. I love the way that you make it more about the client or the sellers, and you've got this terrific couple, and I just want everybody to see how perfect they're the everyman and woman kind of couple. They're not kind of really young, they're not really old, they're just it's just a really good vibe, I think. Tell us how that went. How did you choose them?
Well, Ray, look, I think it started with the fact that, they were, it's a young family. Pete's a builder, really, really lovely guy. His wife, Kate, very similar, mama too. They had a beautiful home, and we connected really well. And I felt, look, the best way for me to break through in the market was to have a point of difference. And I think, look, I've looked at hundreds of real estate videos over the time, and they're all very similar. Yeah. And I took something that was a little bit different and took myself out of it and put it across to Pete and Kate as to how their experience was and how they felt during the process and the auction as well, which in turn everything went really well and we got a really good wrap. It came out beautifully.
Awesome. It did come out really, really well. Congratulations. So for everybody who stays on this call right to the end, I'll be sending you the link. That's the deal. So make sure you hang around. And I also should mention we're going to share a brand new marketing flyer that we're going to use as well. So, John, what I'd love to do, and this is a great idea from Aaron as well, is take us through your top five, I guess, success strategies and the reasons behind your success, starting with number 5.
Sure. Well, Ray, Aaron, and everyone out there, when you're first starting out, you don't have a huge database. Personally, when I came into the area, I didn't have a lot of connections. I didn't grow up in the area, so what I did was I took the opens and the opportunities, the auctions that I had at the time, to work them really hard as a separation point. And I think anyone that's listening out there, you've got to take your opportunities. And opens and auctions are just a brilliant opportunity every Thursday, Saturday to meet new prospective clients. My theory was that it's a great chance to hopefully meet the buyer of the property, but in turn, I'm also going to be meeting neighbours and prospective sellers out there. And I made sure everyone was followed up during the week, multiple times, SMS messages sent out, making sure that I collected all the data. Auction day was another one. I noticed at the time a lot of my colleagues would take names and numbers, but they wouldn't actually call back everyone that had been through on the day.
Yeah.
Now that's gold. You've got a ton of neighbours that are coming through, people that have just seen you in action and hopefully obtained a great result. So I would use my opens, my auctions, but I'd also grab old open sheets, old auctions. I'd ask my colleagues, the more established team members, if I could make some calls off their lists and really work the opens, the auctions, and work the pants off them.
Okay, and you really built your database from there, obviously. Yep. And one of the things, let's cover off on this now before you forget. Fast forward to today, you mentioned that when you start marketing a property, you launch on a Monday, and I guess you'd have a lot of people, once it hits realestate.com.au or domain or all the domains that you market on, you'd be inundated with buyer inquiry in a market that's so hot. So I guess by then you've already got your Thursday open time and say, look, you can come and we're not showing the property until Thursday and then again on Saturday. Is that how it works?
Well, I've actually tweaked that, Ray. I have my first open on a Saturday. I want to put even more energy. I've taken that first Thursday out, and it's just Saturday's game day. Make sure you're there. I don't offer private inspections prior to that Saturday.
Yeah.
The market will come through, view, judge the property based on that first Saturday.
It'd be nothing for you to have 50 plus buyers through on that first weekend, though, wouldn't it? Or more.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you ring back 50 different people on a Monday?
Well, basically, I don't do appointments until PM.
Right.
I've also got 2 sales PAs that work with me. Our whole Monday is based around buyer callbacks. Obtaining market appraisals from there, booking listing appointments, of course, gauging feedback. Getting some feedback in terms of the price, presentation, etc., and then following up all the vendors.
Okay, so you go live to the internet Monday, the sign goes up Monday, all your marketing starts on Monday, and then you've got the age real estate section on the weekend?
Yep.
Okay.
Spot on.
Can I just interject there, just as a bit of an observation and a comment too here? It's interesting, right, because there's going to be a large percentage of people on this call that do auction, but there's also going to be a percentage of people that do predominantly private treaty. Now, in my marketplace, I'm a private treaty guy, right? More so than auction. And it's interesting what John said when you asked him, well, when does the market see the property? The market sees the property on the first Saturday. We do a thing called a property launch here in our office, and fundamentally we treat our private treaties like an auction, as John said. So it's for anybody that's sitting there in private treaty land saying, well, how does what John just said apply to me in my business? I'll just give you a quick insight and go from there. So from a private treaty standpoint, we hypermarket the property in the first week, which is online marketing, offline marketing, print media, digital, emails out to the database, SMSs, phone calls, realestate.com, domain, newspaper, magazine, you name it, it's exposed in the marketplace in that first week. And typically what happens is we get a lot of people, a lot of traction, a lot of inquiries saying, I'd like to see that property before the open house. And once upon a time in private treaty land, you go, this is what a great opportunity. I'm going to go and sell this house now. So you'd go and take a buyer out on Wednesday or Thursday. You get a full price offer. You'd sell it. You'd high five your sales colleagues. You'd high five the vendor and think, how good are we? We just sold the house for full price. But then on Friday or Saturday, someone rings up and says, oh, I'd like to see that house. We say, sorry, there's a deposit or it's under contract. They say, I would have paid more. So treating your private treaties like an auction, it has a lot of benefit to it. No one comes through before the first Saturday. So then obviously there's a lot of people through, anywhere from sort of, 5 parties to 200 parties, depending on the property. And all of a sudden, the market creates the demand. And you might be in a buyer range scenario or an offers over scenario, depending on what laws you've got. All of a sudden, boom, up goes the price. So just keep that in mind. If you're a private treaty agent, that is also a really good way. And maybe one of the next webinars we'll talk about and go into real detail on the property launch formula.
I think that's an awesome idea. I've actually just written that down. That's a top idea.
Because on the weekend I opened 5 and launched them and sold 4 out of the 5, with all of them going for 40,000 as a minimum over the seller's expectations. So it's a really solid way to get good results. So anyway, I didn't want to sort of hijack your interview, but I just thought I can hear someone listening saying, well, I'm private treaty. How do I do it? It's under a property launch method. Fundamentally, treat it like an auction. Don't let anyone in before the first open house. Advertise it everywhere and go from there. Sorry, continue.
Spot on, Aaron. We use the same formula regardless of the method of sale.
Yeah, perfect. Excellent. Yeah. And I like what you said, in regards to private treaty, and you mentioned it at the beginning, you want your property sold within 30 days. And I think that's a perfect time frame to get property sold. And again, if you're sitting there going, well, I'm private treaty, well, how do I do that? Well, you treat your private treaty like an auction. The best thing about an auction is there's an end date. So as John would know, you're working towards, vendor meetings, you're working towards vendor reports, you're working towards a result with that vendor. With private treaty, it's a completely polar opposite model where there is no end date and it just spirals out, So even if you're doing private treaty, treat it like an auction. Say, I want it sold before 30 days. Express that to your vendor and show them the plan on how that's actually going to take place and how that's going to happen.
There's also, absolutely, I think there's also a great marketing opportunity that occurs on that first open day, especially at the moment where the market's white hot. And anybody who's listened to that interview that I just did with Tim Mumford from Manly, if you haven't checked it out, just go to topagentsPlaybook.com and have a listen. But Tim starts off telling me just how the market's never been so strong, and John's telling us the same thing. And when you've got that, and you open the floodgates and you get 20 or 30 or however many people, John, in your open, like at 11 o'clock on a Saturday or whenever it happens, they're all looking at each other, and the people pick up on the vibe and the body language, and they're instantly reviewing their limit right there and then, because they realise they're going to have to go a little bit further. So I just think that's a great, like there are people who are anti-open houses, but that vibe when you've got a home full of buyers is really, really strong, because they can just see there's so much interest. So sorry, take it away, John. You were talking about number 5, and it was about 10 minutes ago when I jumped in. So you want to get on to number 4?
Yeah, look, I'll just add one thing before we head on to point 4. With the work your opens and auctions, guys, it's of course working the buyers that come through, but it's also an opportunity to prospect around the listing, which I think is sometimes we forget. Take every opportunity, every open you've got, to door knock, to letter drop, to make sure that you're flooding the area and you're sending your message out there. Every open, every listing, every auction, it's gold. You've got to get your message out there.
Even with your workload at the moment and the quantity that you're I nearly said moving, but offering, are you still able to do that, you and your team?
Yeah, the team does it as well, Ray. Absolutely. That we've got to still make sure that the fundamentals are there, because what made my business what it was today was these steps that I put in place back when I first started. So that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
You start dropping the ball, the results will eventually catch up with you. So we're consistently making sure that all the 1%ers are still done, because they still work.
Yeah, Cool, great point.
Well, I love it, and I see interviews get done, and trainers are asking agents like yourself, John, like, what's your secret? What's your like? There's one revolutionary thing that changes your business, and an observation over the years is there isn't just one thing. It's a lot of little things done consistently over a long period of time that brings those results. It's just about being well polished in all areas. For me, there's the 7 areas of real estate, which is first and foremost attract, then capture, then nurture, then list, then vendor manage, then sell, then get referrals. And when you sort of see those 7 things on the screen, you sort of say to yourself, right, well, I'm really good at X and I'm really good at Y. And I'll rate myself a 10 here, but maybe a 1 there. And I think when I look at guys like you, and especially from where you come and how quickly you've done it, John, even if you say, well, my strong, I'm not a computer guy, but you've got someone that is. Or you say, you recognise your strengths and you recognise your weaknesses and you outsource them. But when I look at a guy like you, you score, you might not be 10s everywhere, but you're probably 7 pluses in a lot of areas over that whole thing, because, the old saying, it's pretty cliche, but, you were only as strong as the weakest link in that chain. And a lot of people, sort of overwrite them. And, Marilyn just asked, what are the 7 again? Oh, it's very basic, right? So the first one is attract. Before anything we can do in real estate, we must attract. Be on people's radars. Then we must capture, which means we must capture those people's details. We must put them in some type of database. Then from capturing, then it turns into nurture. That's where we build that relationship. We send them marketing information. We speak to them. We build that pipeline. Then it moves on to actually listing the property. So that's the conversion part. Then it moves on to vendor manage or deliver and satisfy. That's what it's called, deliver and satisfy, which is vendor management. Then the second last is sell, which is working with buyers, selling the property, which is the fun part. And then last but not least, it is getting referrals. So that is the 7 steps, guys. So, for me, or for anybody, and I look at these top performers doing big things, and as I said, as quickly as John's done it, he's got a very good grasp. Even if he doesn't do it, consciously, it's subconsciously happening, right? If I said to John, rate yourself in each one of those areas, I'm sure it's either him or one of his team members that does particularly well. So if you're sitting there saying, well, I want to have my best year ever in real estate, I want to take this thing to the next level, and you're rating yourself a 9 out of 10 in your actual listing presentation skills, that's fantastic. Let's work on some of the other skills where you might rate yourself a 4 or 5 and build them up. That's a long pause, guys. So what else you got, John? Let's move on to number 4.
Beautiful. Look, the next thing, and I think one of the points that you brought in there, Aaron, was about identifying your strengths and weaknesses, and that's something I did really, really early on. Still, when I was a PA, I worked out that, look, there's a few key areas in my business that I need to work on. So what I did was I invested into myself. I went to seminars. I got some one-on-one coaching, some training. So I wanted to become an auctioneer. So I obviously did the auctioneer course within the Barry Plank Group, but I went outside that and found a mentor, an auction coach, who took me to the next level. I was always investing into training to make sure that if there's out of one of those, the key 7 pillars, something that I was lacking on, that I could get better, to bring myself up to a 7 or 8. So I think your last point, Aaron, ties in beautifully with my number 4, and that's definitely invest in yourself. Work out any deficiencies you have in your business, guys, and make sure that you get stronger in them ASAP. Because if there's something that's lacking there, that just may be that clincher between you going from 3 to 600 or 6 to 1.2. So I try to keep it pretty consistent, always investing, always looking to get better, and like a dog with a bone, always making sure that there's nothing there that that I'm weak in or vulnerable in.
It's interesting that you say that, right? Because when I coach, I've got the privilege where I go into a lot of offices and I speak to a lot of agents. And one thing, obviously, when I was in your office with Terry and yourself, a couple of months back now, one thing I noticed, right, as an observation, just for anyone listening, so John attended the meeting notes and he had his offsider with him, and it would be funny, right? We'd be talking about something He'd look at, what was your PA? Is it Kane? Was it Kane that was there with
Yep,
you?
Kane.
Kane.
Yep.
So he looks at Kane and he'd say to Kane, write that down, we're doing that, right? And you could just see there was a decision made in that moment and he'd pull the trigger. It wasn't about, oh, that sounds good in theory. Maybe when the stars align, I might give that a go. I could just see it. John would sit there. There were some things he would just, it was like, no, I don't need that. No, I don't need that. But then all of a sudden, there was something that clicked, and he'd look at Kane, mate, drop that one down. Let's action this one. And I think that's more so than anything else, right? We can buy CDs, we can read, we can buy books, but at the end of the day, we call it self-help. And an observation with John is, he's done some mindset coaching, he's done some skill set coaching, but the major thing in all of this that I can see from a takeaway is that John implements. And that's the thing more so than anything else that sets John and guys like him apart is, especially in that sort of time period that he's done it in, is that it's simply he knows his weaknesses, but then he implements in those areas. So again, for you guys, right, we're throwing around some ideas today. So could I suggest you start to say, hey, this is where I'm at, this is what I need, and you know your business better than I know your business, or than John or Ray knows your business, and say, hey, what do I need? Write down the 5 things, because it's great that you've come to the webinar, and it's great because we're going to share some, a lot more awesome stuff with you. This is just a tip. However, at the end of this, when it all finishes, John goes to his appointments, Ray does his thing, and I go to my appointments. At the end of the day, you guys have then got to pull the trigger and implement. So, John, what would, if someone was new, right, just getting into the industry now, and you spoke about coaching and you've invested in yourself, what would be one of the first things you'd tell a new person? So I'm fresh. I've just turned up at your office. I'm keen to do real estate. I want to be like John Stack. What's the first piece of advice you go and give me around coaching? What do I do? Who do I see? What do I implement? Or what are some of the strengths that I work on? Stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a great point, Aaron. I think, look, anyone that is in that position, you've got to go to someone that's a leader within your business, someone that's getting results, that's doing the business, and basically follow what they're doing. Implement what they're doing. We said it earlier, it's investing in yourself and implementing what you learn. That's what you need to do. As soon as you get into, the office, make sure that there's someone there, whether it's within your group, within your office, even if you've got to go find someone. We know who the top performers are with the industry, and one thing that I've noticed, Aaron, same with yourself and Ray, you're always happy to share. Find out what they're doing, what's working. The greatest piece of advice would be, and something, Aaron, that I've learned from your training over the years is, and I'll talk about in a minute, is also about, gathering data to make sure that you've got, enough people in that database to really, prospect to and market to.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be some of the key things that I'd be certainly advising anyone new to the industry to do straight away. Find a mentor and build a database.
Yeah.
And you've never been backward in coming forward and asking for help. I mean, with your training, you mentioned before you found an auctioneer mentor because you understood how important it is to be the auction brand in your area, which you've obviously become.
Yep.
So I just think that's a really vital point there. It's interesting in real estate, so many people come into our industry and so many people leave. And a lot of people that leave don't get that support and don't get that helping hand, but in many cases they don't ask for it either. So I love that saying, the answer's always no until you ask. You've got to ask, and it's like in our industry where ABC always be closing. You've always got to ask for the order. You can't die wondering, and we taught that at an early stage. But I think that's a valuable lesson for everybody listening to if you're not if you don't feel that you're where you want to be in a particular area, then call in some help. I mean, there's never been more coaching, there's never been more assistance available for people in our industry. It's why I think it's such an exciting time.
Yeah, very good. All right, on to point 3, John.
Look, that leads on to, obviously, look, it's great being able to gather data, and this is probably one of the lessons that I learned early on was, well, great, I'm out there, I'm meeting people, what do I do with it? Guys, if you haven't got a database, make sure you get one straight away. I fiddled around with a couple of different systems before we moved to Locked On, and it's been something that's certainly changed my numbers. Like the first year I was out, I didn't have the system, and I wrote 780. We changed to Locked On, did 1,150,000. And then this financial year, we've just done over 1.45.
Wow.
So each year we've been able to build our pipeline. We've been able to manage the data better. So my point number 3, I can't stress this enough, is get a database. My preferred is Locked On. It works beautifully for us. But that couldn't be more critical to success, and I'm sure you'd back me up there, Aaron.
Yeah, look, I will. And here's the thing, right? I don't want this to be a blatant plug for Locked On. For full disclosure, for people that don't know, Ray and I are directors of Locked On, okay? So make no bones about that. But what you just said, regardless of what database you use, right, you've got to use a database. You've got to use one, right? And I appreciate the compliments and the kind words about it. And it's interesting though, because as you said, people are out there attracting, meeting people, spending money on brochures, flyers, marketing, just listed, just sold, open houses, etc. But very little of that information gets retained and captured, then nurtured. So regardless of what you use, you've got to use something. And John, for me, this is sort of, when we talk about those 7 pillars or the 7 steps in the real estate life cycle, for me, this one's probably, the most prudent, because the whole cycle breaks down if capture is not done right, because then you cannot nurture and then your convert struggles. So, it changed, 20 years ago. Okay, here's the thing, and this is my belief, John. Without a database, you would still be an incredibly successful agent. You're hungry, you're focused, you're motivated, you're driven, all of those things, right? What a database does for somebody like you is just helps you run a little bit faster, hit a little bit harder, and just enhances what's already there. For somebody that sort of shows up to work, not really into it, couldn't be bothered using a database, doesn't really want to follow up with their appraisals. Well, a database isn't going to be much good to you, because it's only as good as the person operating it. And that's the truth, right? So please don't think it's a magic bullet, because it's not. You've got to use it and work at it. And as you know, John, you put stuff into it, you use it. But here's the interesting stats, right? It takes over 11 months for someone to sort of convert to a listing. And I say that regularly because we're constantly talking about databases. So all I'm going to ask you on today's call is, what's your follow-up plan look like? What's your nurture plan look like for somebody in your marketplace today? What are they getting? What are you sending? How are you communicating to them? Not on a one-off basis, but on a long-term communication platform. What emails, what SMSs, what letters, what calls, and all these things, sort of need to be generated from a database, right? So tell me more, John. Obviously, as you said, those numbers, 780, I think you said, to 1.15 to 1.4 plus, right? Which is fantastic, by the way. It's huge. And I predict probably in the next 2 years you will write $2 million plus. You're just on that track to do it. What are some of the things that you focus on in your database? What are some of the, let's just call it your key actions. Give me your 3 key actions that you do within that database, or that are some of your key drivers.
Well, look, it's all about follow-up, Aaron. It's all about having a structure. You there, guys?
Yep,
yeah,
gotcha.
Mate, just a bit of a delay. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yep.
Oh, cool. That's all right. Look, it's all about appraisal follow-up.
Yes.
That's been the key, to actually have a structured system to follow someone on their journey from essentially appraised through to listed, because, in some circumstances, Aaron, I wish it was 9 months. It's been a lot longer.
Yeah.
But we've got a structured plan to hit them on a monthly basis, whether it's via SMS, email, newsletter, letter, email. There's a number of key touch points that we have that having a database has allowed me to do without thinking, and that's been the key. All I've got to do is just follow up. The when, all the other stuff looks after itself. So that's been a great action.
Yeah.
I think that's being able to communicate with your current vendors as well, having set follow-up plans and reports, etc., in the database already there and filtered for you. It just makes your life easier.
Yeah.
I think the key, guys, is to be able to get that data in there, and as Aaron said, is to be able to have a set follow-up plan. But then to go, to the next level, it's, well, what do you do for someone that's an A seller, B seller, C seller? So that's probably been the keys that I've been able to put into place, having a set structure for each client.
All right. So I'm just going to sort of massage that and feed that back to everybody, and that is, John has a blueprint, right? It's clearly obvious. John has a blueprint. So if someone says, I'm selling in a week, 3 weeks, 6 months, 12 months, whatever it may be, John is going to have a plan on how to follow up those people through the database, and he's going to be able to stay in contact with them. So, and again, obviously, with this in mind and what John's doing, right? John realises real estate is not a sprint; it is a marathon, right? And as John said, and I'm being courteous when I say the average is 11 months, right? It's normally a lot longer than that, and that's where John says, I wish. But the listings we sign up today are typically people we met 2 years ago. So, what is your marketing plan? And this is an honest question to everybody on this call. If I asked you, if I come into your office today and said, hey, Alex or Paul or Marilyn or whoever's on the call, show me your marketing plan. What are you sending? What does it say about you? Is it helping the client or is it helping you? How frequent is it? What can you show me and what can you deliver? And I think if I walked into some offices, some people will be able to show it to me. Some other people will say, I don't really have that yet. I'm still thinking about what I'm going to send next month. I think that would probably, John, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but that would probably be a fair assessment as a to-do leaving this call. Have a really good follow-up plan and know what you're sending.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Really have a look at, what you're going to send out. Have it all systemized. Put it into, your DNA, your follow-up trails, to make sure that it's all automated. Takes a bit of time to set up, but it's career defining.
I agree. All right. Well, just keeping conscious of time, mate. What's number 2?
Look, I think this is probably one of the most important ones, and that is your listing presentation. Become a world-class lister. Making sure you've got a structured listing presentation. So I spent a lot of time. I also outsourced a graphic designer to implement my ideas on how to structure up a listing presentation. And what that gave me early on, especially when I was up against a lot of the more established agents in the marketplace, was an opportunity for, as you mentioned earlier, like a blueprint, Aaron, where I could come in and take the client essentially from word go through to listed, take them on a journey. So if anyone's out there and you're doing that self-audit and your listing presentation isn't an 8, 9 or a 10, well, that'd be probably the first thing that you need to really start working on. Your listing presentation is everything in this business. Sometimes we only get one opportunity, so you better be good.
Well, here's my observation, right? A lot of people are asking for options. So they come across in that listing presentation, John, and sort of, asking for options in regards to, well, am I going to go with you or am I going to go with the other agent, or I've got all these options available to me, I can pick and choose. But what I find is if you scratch a little bit beneath that surface, they are screaming out for guidance. A lot of people don't transact real estate every single day. They don't know the process. They don't know what happens next. And I think, a listing plan for me is all around the selling blueprint. It is the selling plan. It gives them a timeline from the start, from today to the time that there's a sold sticker on their property and beyond. So in my marketplace, like as John said, he's got a listing presentation, right? We'll go into a little bit about what yours details too, John. I'd like to do that. But you've also got to look at what's your listing presentation like. And you know what I hear a lot of people say, John, which sort of, it rankles me a little bit. And I'll get into what yours has and a little bit about mine. But what agents say to me, normally experienced agents say this to me, and they say, Aaron, I don't need a listing presentation. I can just wing it. I know what I'm talking about. And I hear that more often than not. And I'm just going to, and if you're one of those people, I'm just going to give you a little bit of insight here. The listing presentation isn't for you. The listing presentation's for the vendor, right? So you may know what's coming next, but they don't, right? So it's a crazy concept. The presentation isn't to help you, it's to help them. Because here's the bottom line. There's some people that are auditory, so they take information in via their ears, and then there's some people that are highly visual and want to see things. So if you're going in against a guy like John Stack, which obviously has the auditory part down pat, his voice, but then he also has the visual part, and it's a logical selling process. Well, he's going to beat you every time because he's appealing to more than one sense. He's not just going off the auditory sense, he's also going off the visual sense. So think about, not just what you want and in regards to, well, okay, I've got this, I know what to do, but think about, what about the client? So, John, tell me what's in your listing presentation. Ultimately, do you have a pre-listing kit? If so, what's in it? Do you, all of that stuff? Just give us a rundown.
Yeah, I've got a pre-listing kit, Aaron. I've also got my own website, which I send through. If anyone wants to check it out, it's johnstack.com.au, and that's got those videos on there that you were talking about earlier, Ray. It's got testimonials, my listings, etc. So I normally forward that straight after the initial phone call, straight to the vendor.
Yes.
I'll include that
I've also
link
got
in the,
hard
in the
copy.
notes if anybody's interested. Sorry, John.
Beautiful.
I've also got a hard copy that I can send out as well, and I've also got a PDF which can be emailed. So look, I've probably got 3 different versions of a pre-listing kit.
Yeah. Okay.
My actual listing presentation, well, that includes really a journey from start to finish, visuals around the method of sale, around the buy waves. Of course, some of our key points of difference, our network. And it's something I'll go into in a bit more detail at Recharge as well.
Yep.
But the visuals for my listing presentation are really engaging. And they tell a story. They show clients, what we do, what some of our differences are, and how we'll manage their campaign basically from the time that they list through to when the property is sold.
Yeah. I love that, and a couple of things I picked up on there, and one thing I really like, John, is that, and I put it in the chat box, is that johnstack.com.au. That's your online profile. So you meet any seller or potential seller, well, within 10 seconds they can have that on email, they can have that on an SMS, and it's just such a big point of difference that you've got. And as you just said, John, you'll be speaking at Recharge in October up in Queensland, and obviously, would love for you to sort of drill down into that listing presentation and those aids, right? And again, what I heard as a listener, again, you're not talking. The presentation isn't geared around how good John Stack is. It's all geared around, well, how do we get you on the market from start to finish? Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, spot on, and it's an engagement strategy as well with buyers, where we actually show them how we find their buyers, how we'll engage with the local marketplace,
Yeah.
How we actually run the open homes, and there's visuals around the opens. I think it's spot on, exactly what you said, Aaron. It's about showing the client. A lot of people, in my opinion, vast majority of people are visual. If you can show them a roadmap, vendors are crying out for a plan, a strategy, to show them how to get the best price, how they can get more buyers through the home. That's what I do.
Yep.
Yeah, they want a solution.
And if you can have the best story and the best listing presentation, correct, you're going to get the business, or at least you're going to have a really good crack.
Yep. So guys, just think about this, right? We're talking about listing. Just look at the level John's at here. Online personal profile pre-listing kit. Hard copy pre-listing kit. Highly visual selling plan to the vendors, right? You just want to make sure that you're ticking all this stuff off. And here's the good news. If you don't, well, John will go through it and you'll see his selling plan at Recharge, no sweat. But, these are things that you've sort of got to think about, okay? Anything else you want to add there, Ray, John, comment, elaborate on before we sort of move on?
No, I'm good. I think he's covered all the bases for me.
Cool. All right. And John, we've been counting down the top.
All good.
Yeah, we've been counting down the top 5. So that was number 2. So let's have a look at what number 1 is for you. So the thing that's changed your business more than anything else, tell me, John, what is it, right?
It's about getting support, Aaron, Ray, and all the listeners there. It's from the very moment that I stepped into sales, I put on a PA. I obviously didn't have any income, but I had a few listings in the pipeline. I took a punt and put someone on full-time as a sales PA. And I think that's probably been a career definer, and it's something that I've been able to develop as time goes on with more assistance and growing a team. It allowed me to leverage my time, allowed us to get into more doors, allowed us to build our profile a lot quicker. And as you said, Aaron, I've been able to do it in a fairly short period of time. It just allowed us to be in more places at one time. So anyone that's out there, look, you don't have to be writing big figures, but even if it's admin for 1 or 2 days, which allows you to make those extra calls, to door knock, to work your opens a bit harder, that's going to really help leverage your time and your opportunities and career.
See, it's interesting, John, I think, because so many people listening to this will be going, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to bring on an assistant when I get to X, X dollars in income. You approached it from the other direction, saying, well, I'm not going to get to X until I get some help here. It's not like I need to pay somebody 70 grand as a full-time assistant, but you tell us how you started. What was you said just like with admin and those letting you focus on the dollar productive actions. How did you start out?
Ray, well, look, I had it all pre-planned. I'd seen a lot of top performers within my company and also outside, and they all had assistants working with them. And look, my plan was, well, look, let's get someone in day one. Let's take a punt or back myself. Invested 40,000 in them, and then obviously we had certain targets and were remunerated based on that. But let's go out and make sure we can meet more people than anyone else. Listings make more sales.
Right.
So look, that was my theory, and obviously, look, it paid off. I've been to seminars and we've all heard it. Well, when you write 300, put a PA on. When you write 500, you put a PA on. I look at it the different ways. You said, Ray, was, well, look, if these guys are writing those numbers, they've got the assistance, that's going to help me get there quicker. And I didn't want to waste any time. I wanted to really hit the ground running, and it certainly worked.
So tell me, John. Sorry, Ray. Tell me, John.
Go ahead, mate.
How soon, right, from becoming your own agent, right? You were a PA. You go out on your own. You take that leap. You step away from Terry, and you say, I'm going to go and do this myself. How long did it take for you to go from from agent to getting a PA in as a listing and selling agent?
Day one.
Here's a couple of things, guys. I just want you guys to hear.
Before.
Go ahead.
Bye, John.
John's got some echo issues.
No, you go, Aaron. Sorry, mate. I was just listening.
That's right. So here's an observation, right? So I just asked John how long from agent to getting a PA. John says day one, right? Here's a massive observation for everybody on this call, right? John's a nice guy. John wears nice suits. John drives a nice car, but that doesn't really mean as much as what I'm about to say, and that is John backs himself and believes in himself 150% plus, right? He goes, first and foremost, listen to what he's been saying for this whole thing. I'm going to go and get a database, boom, right? He just knows he's got to get one. I'm going to go and get some training. He doesn't look at it as a cost. He looks at it as an investment, right? Then he goes, I'm going to go and get a PA because he realises to get to where he wants to be, he needs that assistance. Everything here is around his self-belief. And that's one of the things, John, can I ask you a personal question? And you can tell me to mind my own business here, right? But what motivates you to be successful in real estate? What's your motivation? Because everyone's different. There's people in your office and in your marketplace that don't do the results that you do and have the same opportunity, the same time, same equipment available to them. Why does John Stack do the things he does? And why do you do it? What gets you up in the mornings to do real estate?
Aaron, there's a few key areas. One is I'm extremely competitive and I want to be the best.
Yeah.
And I want to win. and I want to be regarded as a top agent, an elite performer, and I want to get great results. I want to work hard for my clients and make sure that I stand out in the marketplace. If you're going to do anything, why don't you be the best? That's the way I think about it. The second area is obviously, personal, and that's around my goals, what I want to achieve outside of the business. And real estate's a terrific vehicle to do that in terms of property and investment. My family, holidays. I'm getting married, mate, so that's a pretty big motivator to make sure we work hard. So all those key areas within the business, and also outside. I've got some pretty big goals personally, and we'd have to write the income to be able to achieve that financially.
Yeah, okay. And tell me, John, you spoke about the holidays and the wife, etc. Here's an example, right? People ask me, like I just asked you, and that's why I asked you the question, why do you do it? It's interesting. My wife was out at dinner with her friends last night, and they're crazy horse riders, right? Like fanatical about it. And she says to me, asks me 2 questions on text. The first question was, hey, can you go and pick up the poo in the stables for me? And this is at about 9 o'clock at night, right? I wrote back, okay. Next question that comes through was a little bit out of left field, and it was, oh, and by the way, can I please go to Germany for 3 weeks on the 9th of August? My second question, or my second reply back was, okay. Right? Now, all I'm trying to get at is, with what John's doing, with writing these type of numbers, it creates a lifestyle where the people that you love the most, you can make them happier. If you want to, you can spend some time with them. If you want to go on holidays with them, you can. Or if you simply just want to say, hey, you can go on holidays, no sweat. I'll man the fort while I'm away. We're not dependent on 2 incomes. It's just a good feeling to have, a little bit more choice. As the old cliched saying says, is, you're always going to have problems, regardless, rich, poor, or in the middle. But at least you can sort of roll up to them in style. Whatever it is for you, you've got to sort of look at, John's talking about all these things that have helped him, right? But behind the scenes, John is a completely focused individual, motivated, but more than anything, he has self-belief. John, here's a question for you, right? Did in the back of your mind, was this ever going to fail, or was this always going to work? Just be honest. Like, did you doubt yourself? Do you back yourself? What's that little voice inside your head say when no one else is in the room?
Oh, look, there's always those niggles there that say, it's not going to happen, you're going to fail. But look, at the end of the day, Aaron, I didn't allow that to come into play because I just went all in and backed myself 110%. My theory was, well, if I believe I can do it, I can. There's nothing to stop me. I'm just as good as the guys that are out there writing the numbers. I just went all in, backed myself 110%, and really, put those negative thoughts to one side and gave myself the best opportunity to succeed and believe that I could do it. And if you have a look at, really good agents or business people or sports people, across the world, they've always got incredible self-belief.
Yeah.
And I think to be successful in this game, you need to have that.
Yeah. There was no plan B, is what I'm hearing. So make sure plan A is a good plan.
Well, hey, there's plenty of evidence.
No plan B.
Good.
There's plenty of evidence to find what the best plans are, and you're obviously working it. Guys, what I'd love to do as well, I promised in a couple of the messages that I'd give everybody the opportunity to ask a quick question. There've already been some coming through. G'day, Phil Taylor from WA. Phil would be interested to know, John, what's a good salary package for a top PA? Can you give us any insight there?
Well, the minimum pay in Victoria is 40 grand per annum, but the way that I structure, so obviously that's the base rate, and we structure incentives based on quarterly targets within the team.
Okay.
So, for instance, we've got to write a minimum of 200 grand for the quarter for the guys to receive any form of bonus. Then the increments increase from 2 to 250, 250 to 3, 3 to 350, etc., all the way up to, if we do $500,000 for the quarter, then the guys can earn up to 20 grand each.
Nice.
So I think that's a really good way. The more the business, the team, the EBU rights, the better the remuneration for the assistants.
If somebody wants to wade into this, and thank you, John, if somebody wants to wade into this, the world of virtual assistants is huge, and there are so many people competing at bargain basement rates, and I know plenty of them are offshore, but it's a matter of being able to let go a lot of what you're doing. And you know, so many people in real estate have what I call Superman syndrome. They can't, or Superwoman syndrome, they can't really see anybody else doing all of this stuff, right? And like nobody can do it as well as them. And there's another issue that comes in, is that if somebody else does it, the original person or the boss actually doesn't get the credit. It's been shown in studies that holds people back as well. So I think John's given us plenty of evidence to get out there and really start looking for some quality assistance, so you can start focusing on the things that you want to focus on. Let's see what else is going. G'day Melinda Allenby, how are you? Phil says thank you. Any other, here's a question from Melinda. Just moved interstate, therefore starting from scratch. What would be the top 3 things I should start on day 1 to gain momentum in the market? John, can you give us 60 seconds on that?
Yeah, look, if I was Melinda, I'd certainly be going through the office and grabbing every single old open sheet, any past files, and making sure that you get onto trying to build your database as quickly as possible. I'd identify a business development area or farm area to make sure you can start marketing into. And then I'd pair up with probably the best agent in the office or find a mentor in the area to see what's working. And obviously depending on her experience as well, and make sure that you put some funds aside to either get some assistance early on or really invest into marketing yourself into that new area as soon as possible to gain as much traction, you know, as early in the piece as you can.
Okay, quick question from Simon O'Keefe. What kind of tasks would a virtual assistant do? I'd probably lead that out by saying the non-blue dollar actions. So anything apart from the things that are going to directly make you money, like prospecting, having a meeting with a vendor, sitting down and doing an open, doing a listing presentation, working with an A-class buyer or negotiating a sale. They're the things that the agent himself needs to do, and I'd imagine they're the things that John's doing. An assistant's going to do a lot of the periphery stuff. I guess, John, can you just give us half a dozen bullet points on what your assistant works on?
Yeah, absolutely. So look, there's probably 2 sides to how I run my PAs. One's admin-based and the other's sales-based. But the key task for my sales assistants is to prospect, to build and nurture leads coming into the team. And I suppose the big thing for the admin side of the business is, you know, I don't want to have anything to do with that. So, you know, that's making sure all the letters go out, that really non-dollar productive sort of stuff, Ray, that you were talking about.
Yep.
You know, files, you know, making sure everything's all organised, emails go out, etc. So that's taken care of. So that allows you to be in front of more clients, to list more homes, negotiate more sales, have more price reductions, meetings with clients, etc. To make sure you're more dollar productive.
Quick question from Ben Skews. G'day Ben, how are you, mate? Thanks for joining us. John and Aaron, do you guys meet face-to-face with your PAs every day?
All right, John, and I'll chime in.
Do you want me to go first, Aaron?
Yes, mate. You're the star of this.
All right, cool. We have a weekly meeting every Tuesday where we run through as a business unit. That's admin, also myself and the sales PAs, where we have a formal meeting once a week for about an hour, hour and a half, just to catch up. But basically, we share a little office as well, so we're always in contact with each other. We're always comparing notes. We're always giving each other advice, a rev up, etc. Pointing out some key areas we need to work on, or you know, able to follow up, etc. So one formal meeting, and then look, there's plenty of catch-ups, phone calls, SMSs throughout the day.
Okay. Quick question, and sorry, Aaron, how do you deal with that?
So I'm just conscious of time. So look, there's a thing that I call a scrum each morning, 5-10 minute scrum, right? What's going on in the day? What are the urgent top priorities? What are the tasks? Then obviously you have your weekly catch up. But those scrums each day at the beginning of each morning is just set the agenda for the day. What's expected, what we're going to do, who's in charge of what, make it happen, and obviously catch up on a weekly basis in a little bit more detail. So that would be how I do it. And with my VA, and Ray and I both share a VA, Kelly, and she works in Best Agents. She runs our admin department. I catch up with Kelly for 5 minutes a day, same type of deal. Check in, say hello, what's going on, and set an agenda. So VA and virtual assistant, and also admin in the office, same type of deal. I think it's always good to check in, set an agenda, so everyone knows what the mission is for the day.
And couldn't operate without Kelly. She's amazing. Okay, 2 final questions, and then we'll wrap this up. G'day, Jerry. Last, how are you, buddy? What sort of marketing budget do you set, John, and how do you arrive at that amount? I'd imagine with auction marketing, it's VPA. It's all paid in advance in Melbourne nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. But look, in terms of personal marketing, which I think probably Jerry's more alluding to.
Yep.
We're upwards of sort of $20,000, $30,000 just for marketing. Plus, there's also training seminars, etc. on top of that. But some of the things is obviously have your marketing plan drawn out for the year in terms of your letterbox drops.
Okay.
So I've just invested on just on 8,000 now for 100,000 letterboxes to go into the BDA over the next sort of 10 to 12 months.
Okay, so your 30,000 budget's an annual budget.
Annual budget, yeah.
Okay.
So already 8 grand's just in the letterboxes there.
No worries. Last question from Andy Cant. G'day, Andy. How are you, buddy? In NZ, what's your success rate at listing presentations, John? On a percentage basis.
Look, we're rolling around 80%, Ray. There and about. So look, it's pretty strong. I don't win them all. I wish I did. But yeah, it's, sometimes we can't win them all.
No, that's pretty awesome. Okay, well let's move on. Just stay with us for a moment, John, while we move.
Yeah, about to get that prospecting letter too, guys.
We're going to get that out to you. I'm going to send you a link. Actually, I've uploaded that to a server, so stay on the call. I'm going to send you a link through there shortly. But before we do, I'd like to just find my screen and tell you a little bit about, there we go, what we've got coming up at Recharge. I was working very hard for the last probably 6 months to get the last man standing. I'd heard so many great things about Steve Bradbury. I think Ben Skews is on the call. I know he's on the call, and I think Ben gave us some awesome feedback. He saw Steve recently, and that was another reason for me to grab him. So everybody's familiar with Australia's first Winter Olympics gold medalist. It's just going to be fantastic to meet up with Steve. He's keen to meet everybody. He loves our industry. He loves the vibe. He loves the energy. So really looking forward to catching up with Steve. We've also got on our speaking card, Delene Lewis. Or there's a little promo for Steve that we'll be getting out. I'll be sharing that with everybody as well. It's a little promo that we did for Facebook. And we've got Delene Lewis. Delene, I understand if she's not number 1 in Australia, she's very, very close. She's with Lang & Simmons in Sydney. She's led the team there for the last 4 years, and I think she's won New South Wales Residential Salesperson of the Year. Terrific energy Delene's got. You're going to love hearing her speak. We've been really conscious in the past that we've had plenty of guys but not too many ladies. So if you're listening to this and you're female and you want a role model, you're not going to get a better one than this woman. She's fantastic. She's really giving with her time and her ideas. There's a lot of stuff that she'll be sharing, and she'll only be sharing it at Recharge. So make sure that you get along there.
Yeah,
Aaron, Shad?
Yeah, well, what I was going to say about Delene is she very rarely does any speaking engagements. Very, very rare. She's number 1 in Lang & Simmons. She writes over $2 million a year. As you said, New South Wales Salesperson of the Year. We've got her to talk to a very small and intimate group of people at Recharge in October this year. You'd be crazy. Just for the content that she's going to deliver alone is worth being in the room 10 times the price of the ticket. And Shad, he's a friend of mine. Actually, Chad, I've been in real estate for 15 years. He's been in it for 17. My first day on real estate, I met Shad Hassan at a training event we did in Parramatta together, and this guy was setting it on fire sort of 2 years into his career. He's been consistently writing over $2 million. Shad's going to share exactly how he lists, what his system is, what his marketing plan looks like, how he sells and does over $2 million, and has been consistently one of McGrath's top agents for the last 10 years, and more importantly, the number one agent in the inner west marketplace. So Shad has got, here's the good thing about Recharge. They're all people that are in the industry every day working. And getting the results that we're all sort of chasing. Mark Lance, young guy from South Australia, awesome list to sell ratio. But for Mark, Mark reminds me a lot of John in regards to his hunger to implement and how he does things. A little bit
just
different.
really systems orientated. Just
He
big
is
on his
very,
systems.
very
Just
systems.
like you.
Yeah, he is systems orientated. Won, the Real Estate Institute SA Salesperson of the Year for Northwest, and number 2, and then Salesperson of the Year as well. Guys, come and see this guy. He's absolutely killer in what he does. And again, only been in real estate for a short period of time. But like John, you'll notice there's some key things that Mark has implemented into his business to explode his business. So he'll be focusing on how he keeps his pipeline full, how he gets plenty of leads, and how he gets into the doors. Ray?
Okay, I caught up with Nairi earlier in the week. She's really excited about. She's a little nervous, but she's really excited about coming along to Recharge in October and speaking. She's a phenomenal example of success. Cleveland, for those of you Queenslanders who know, is like the ocean side of Brisbane. It's old, established demographic. It's very, very competitive. Nairi just does an awesome job. She's done 600,000 without a PA, and she's only just become a Locked On user. That's how we got connected. But she's another lady who'll be sharing her ideas and secrets as well. Luke Newton is straight from the Locked On support team. Everybody loves Luke, and he's probably, I'd say, the number one real estate CRM guru in the country. It's basically all he's ever done in his life. And when Aaron and I got the opportunity to go in with Luke, he's a partner with Locked On. When we got the opportunity to go into business with Luke, we just grabbed it, and Luke, together with Ian French and Aaron and I, will be there with Locked On, and it'll be just great to make so many cool connections with the people that we've met and we've got to know.
Can I just say one thing, Ray?
Yeah.
Luke is Australia's best systems coach in real estate, bar none. And, Luke worked very closely with Matt Steinway as well. He was Matt's assistant for I won't say many years, but for a short period of time, and since then has been building processes and systems for the real estate industry. If you need structure and a little bit of process, he's the guy, right? And he'll be showing you how multiple clients across Locked On are creating $1 and $2 and $3 million businesses. And then obviously we've got the man himself on the call today. John will be going through his listing presentation and a lot more that we didn't have time to cover off today. Ray, tell us when it is, where it is, etc.
It's at Jupiter's on the Gold Coast, so bring your white shoes and bring your dollar coins or your $2 if you're interested in the slots. But I want you to be attending our sessions on Thursday, October 22, on Wednesday, October 22, and Thursday, October 23. They're the dates. Recharge 2015.com is where you need to book. And we've got a special deal. If you're on this call, and I don't know how long we're going to leave this open for, and obviously until the first 30 have booked, but there's only 30 places. You can jump on. All you need to do is go to Recharge 2015. So write that link down. I'll poke it out into the text thing as well. Or Aaron, maybe you can do that while I'm talking. So if you use promo code BA member, BAMEMBER, as is showing on the screen there, you're going to get a 25% discount off that deal. And I think, Aaron, we've also got a special deal for groups, haven't we, for 5 or more?
Yep.
Okay, for 5 or more you get 35% off. So if you're part of a team and you want to get a few people and come together and come along and chat with John, Shad will be there, Delene, and the last man standing, Steve. Aaron and I are going to be there. Luke's going to be there, and we're just going to have a really great time. And I can't wait to connect with everybody.
Yeah, look, it's our one big event a year, and it's where we get some of the, and here's the bottom line. Ray and I put this event, and Luke put this event on each year, but realistically what we try and do is assemble some of the best practitioners in real estate, not trainers, but not yesterday's hero who sold real estate 10 years ago and who was out of the loop, but the guys that are at the cutting, the cold face, the cutting edge, in the marketplaces, listing and selling, just like you guys. So we've got some of the best guys in the industry from all different marketplaces, from all different areas, speaking at this event. If I wasn't speaking at it, I'd be sitting there in attendance taking. Well, I will be taking plenty of notes also. So guys, do yourself a favour, book in on the Wednesday, the Thursday, come up, spend the Friday and Saturday, do a little holiday before or after, bring your family, do whatever, but you've got to be there. Use that promo code BA20 or BA member, and that gives you 25% off. And again, that's for 30 only. I'm just checking on my phone. I've actually already had about 4 go through. So if that's the case, there's 26 left with that code. So make sure you're one of them and go from there. Ray, as promised, the tax time letter as well.
Yeah, this is the tax time letter. Now, Aaron, you've used this recently. Tell us about your results and how they went. Give us a little bit of an insight to that.
Yeah, look, for me, I picked up 4 listings with this last month, and that was to my database. I'm actually in the process of printing 4,000 for my farm area. And I know Troy on this call. Troy, just update your numbers. And by the way, Troy, congratulations. Just wrote 1.1 million. Troy is an avid implementer of this stuff. Troy, just give us a breakdown of your results using a form of this tax time letter out to your farm area database. Just bullet point it for me. Will be no dramas at all. But look, guys, if you're in Australia, this is tax time, right? If you're in New Zealand, well, March is the time. But right now is tax time, guys. Get this out to your farm area. Ray will give you the link if you just want to put it in that chat box, Ray.
Yep, already gone.
And go. So I'm just reading Valerie's one. I used a tax time letter recently, got 8 listing appointments, 2 potential listings out of it, only sent to 200 people. Well, imagine if we pump those numbers up. So you got 8 listing appointments to fill your pipeline out of 200, right? So let's accelerate that and let's project it to go to 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, right? And see what happens. So Troy, if you're still here, I think you might be off the call, but I'd be interested to see how you went. But guys, use that letter. Ray, can you insert that link? And
yes.
Yep.
Troy's still on the call. I want to say something about Recharge and Troy because it still stuns me. Colac, for those of you who don't know, is a smaller country town in about 2 hours west of Melbourne, and about 10,000 people. Troy and Aaron and I connected in 2012 in Melbourne at our first Recharge event. Troy and his partner Mark had done 450. This year, Aaron and I got a message a month ago, so the rolling 12 months, they've nearly tripled that number. They've just clicked 1.1, which is a phenomenal effort. And Troy started doing this. He came to Recharge because he couldn't believe, and he still laughs about it, that Aaron listed 200 properties in a year, and he thought, I've got to find this joker. I've got to find out how he does it because that's crazy. And those guys have just done so many amazing numbers. So I just think it's if you really want to lift your numbers, then you need to come and join us. And you know what? You might be interstate. We put this on basically at cost because we want you to be there. And when you have a look at the mix of the speakers, at Steve and Deline and Shad and John and these other guys, everybody brings a little bit to the table. Like Aaron was talking with John before about getting your mindset right and backing yourself, and I love that kind of stuff because when the chips are down, you really need to get back on the horse and really give things a drive, and that's where you're going to get so much great energy and encouragement and inspiration from Steve Bradbury, let alone all of the stuff that the other people are doing. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah.
If you're a Best Agents member and you all will already be able to find this, Aaron, if you could just move that slide forward. Have you already done it? Sorry. To print ready ads, all you need to do is log in. It's all free if you're a Best Agents member. It's all there, and there are hundreds of other, or not hundreds, dozens of other designs and flyer designs and things. You simply log in. and you can print off and download whatever you want. So have we covered everything off, Aaron? Am I missing anything?
Yeah, what I'm going to do, just two things before we go. I'm just going to leave that slide up. I'm just going to unmute Troy. So Troy, if you're there, I'll see. I've just unmuted you, mate. If you've got a microphone, I guess we'll see. Mate, tell us, you went to Recharge in 2012, as you said. Ray said you're doing 450 now, cracking sort of 1.1. You know, and if you're not there, Troy, I'll say what Troy's always said to me. He said, all I've done, I go to the seminars that you guys run, and I actually implement this stuff. So if you're sitting there saying, well, is Recharge for me, or regardless if it's Recharge or any other seminar, I don't know if it's for you. You've just got to sit there and say, well, what are you going to do with it when you leave? Is it a matter of, well, that was a great seminar and that turns into shelf help? Or does it turn into, well, hang on, I've got this information here. I've just heard from John, Shad, and Delane and other people like that and say, well, these guys are writing millions of dollars. What are they doing differently? And how am I going to implement it into my business? So are you there, Troy? No, he's not there. No, all good. His mic isn't connected. So, guys, what's that?
I thought he was.
No, he wasn't. But look, guys, go and register. I can see there's another 4 or 5 that have just come through. So there's about 20, 21 left using that promo code to get yourself 25% off. So go to Recharge 2015. It's in the little chat box there. Click on it, book your places, and come join us. There's going to be a really cool VIP party as well, where all the speakers, you get to have some one-on-one time. You get to ask questions, have a chat, and sort of interact with a gold medalist and all these other top-performing real estate agents. Sort of pick their brains one-on-one, shake their hands, and sort of ask the personal questions that you want to ask of them, and that's very rarely, if ever, been done. So, guys, come along and take advantage of it today. And Ray, you want to throw up that link for everybody, and we can all get on with our day.
The link for Recharge?
No, the link for the letter, mate.
Oh yeah, I've already posted that. I'll post it again. I'll send it up. I'll send it out to everybody again. Yep. And I'll also do it in a follow-up email to everybody on this call. Right. So don't have any fears. Let me sign off by saying 2 things. John Stack, you're a legend. I want to say a big thank you, mate, and thank you for joining us. I know you're a busy guy, but I love the way you're giving back. People have obviously given a lot to you, and you're giving back. So a big thank you. I'd also like to say to everybody on this call, you've invested an hour on this call, and one of the big recurring themes, and we really didn't know this when we started, but John said it a couple of times about backing yourself and investing in yourself and taking the necessary action to get the results. So that's what Recharge is all about. We'd love to see you there. We know you're going to get some great results. So back yourself, get along, get some accommodation. Fantastic VIP cocktail party on Thursday night, I should mention. That's going to be awesome. So we're looking forward to seeing you there as well. So that's all from me, and looking forward to catching up soon, Aaron.
Yep, that's it, guys. Kick butt, take names. Thank you very much for your time, John. Greatly appreciated, buddy.
Pleasure. Thanks, guys.
No problems. All right, guys. Go to Recharge 2015. Use the promo code BA member. Get 25% off. See you guys all at Recharge. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.